Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 128 of Games My Mom Found. And who's excited they can finally mate with me tonight?
I'm not answering that one.
I know.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I had to go with that because, this game, that's what they kept saying every time. You got so excited.
Yeah.
So I purposely wanted to lead with the dumbest thing I could think of from this game.
Did it?
Yeah, you nailed it. I'm Pooh fan Michael K Hughes, I guess.
Who is our special guest?
It's me. I have to introduce myself. Yeah.
That's how I do it on this show, I know. Unlike most shows, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's me, Jeff Cork.
I think you're coming on the fourth time you've been on the show.
Yeah. Any chance I can get to talk about Cubivore?
Yeah.
Apparently, I will leap at that opportunity.
Somehow more weird than Gotcha Force that we had on you last season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And before we go too far, I want to give a quick mention that we do have a Patreon poll that you can go on for $1 and sign up for our Patreon. And you can vote for what's going to be there'll be different episodes that we're letting you vote for each month, but the first one will be our first pilot test episode. Definitely go check that out. It's currently a tie, so we need to fix that. Otherwise, I decide the tie, so go vote on there. And Mike, why don't you introduce what we're talking about, because this is completely your idea.
We were talking about Cubivore from the great year of 2002.
Oh my god, it's 2002.
Explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a sordid history with that year on the show.
Do tell.
We played Robotech Battlecry and a few other games from 2002 that were just not hold up well.
Star Wars Bounty Hunter, Blood Omen 2, I think was 2002. Yep. Eternal Darkness, which was probably the best one we played.
It is. So Cubivore was published by Atlas and made by Intelligent System, which was originally supposed to be an N64 game that then came out for the GameCube.
And I think it was published in Japan by Nintendo, but for whatever reason they didn't bring it over here, even though they planned to at some point, because there's a Cubivore trophy in Melee, Smash Brothers Melee, that says it's a future title. It just didn't end up happening for whatever reason.
It's really weird.
It's like they didn't think we could handle this completely normal game.
Yeah. So, Jeff, have you played this? You played this before back in the day, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was a huge GameCube fan at this time, and I bought it. You could apparently, you look at how much this game is worth in the secondary market now. It's difficult to imagine, but there was a time where you could walk into a store and just pay a normal amount of money for it and have your own copy, and that's what I did when it came out.
I think I mentioned it on the Gotcha Force episode, but I paid $7.50 for this game, new.
Yeah.
So to go on eBay and see that it's going for like $800 is just the best thing. I love it.
Yeah, it's insanity.
It's not worth it at all.
Rude.
Well, I don't think many games are ever worth that price to be fair.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Especially when all the money's not going, it's just going to some guy who sat on the copy for, 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their contribution is not opening it. So.
Yes.
Kudos.
So I had only heard of this game once before because of somebody in Overblood, James Johnson, a friend of mine, had posted and talked about this game before. I don't know why, but he'd mentioned, this weird-ass game that he had, too. And I remember looking it up, and I just saw, the weird Minecraft-looking designs. I'm like, what the hell is this crap? And that was it. I never thought in a million years I actually be playing it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again,
So this is your first experience with the game, as you're saying?
Yes.
Before we break it down, I want you to give us the back of the box blurb on what this game is.
You get born, you eat things, and get really, really excited when you get raw meat or raw bone, and then you can mate.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just couldn't get over how funny it would get every time he'd get I can finally mate, I can mate. I'm just like, okay, that's just, it was hilarious to me.
And each child has an extra limb.
Yes.
Which is less weird than it sounds.
This is so strange. There's a story, I guess, right? Something?
Yeah, you're trying to kill the killer Cubivore so you can be the king of the Cubivores.
Yeah, they lay it out in a relic of the era, an unskippable cutscene. It seems to go on forever, but yeah, it just basically explained that all the color had been taken out of the world, and you, as this weird little polygonal guy, have to run around and, like you say, conquer the rest of the animal kingdom. Yeah. The gimmick, though, is that they're all heads, right, that are cubes, appropriately enough, and the other parts that make up their bodies are these really slim cubes also, but they're kind of like flaps, and they're arranged in different ways. So there might be like a series of them strung together, so they're kind of snake-like, or if you had like two of them underneath your cube, they kind of approximate legs and everything. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to challenge myself not to use the word strange or weird. I don't know if I'll be able to stick to that, but it's an interesting idea. It kind of reminds me of that old SNES game, Evo.
Search for Eden.
Yeah.
Game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where the goal is you're like a little guy and you're eventually eating your way up the food chain and becoming more and more powerful, and you can kind of choose how you evolve and what attributes you get to a certain degree. And that's, I think, what they want it to be. I don't know that it's necessarily successful at delivering that fantasy, though.
Yeah. As far as it being weird, I don't know why you would think that, even though IGN has a quote on the cover of the box right under the logo that says one of the most bizarre video games ever created.
And that's, I guess, like, the tone of it is kind of funny, but it's not really that... I guess, like, it's not as weird as I remember it being. I guess, other than, like, the visual style is kind of funny. And it's strange, but I guess all games of that era are strange because nobody knew what they were doing.
Yeah, that's fair, especially early 3D.
Oh, yeah.
But visual style, I think, is where a lot of it comes into play. My wife saw me playing this. Apparently, I never showed her this game before. She just walks in. She's like, "What the hell am I looking at?" So I had to explain it.
That must have been interesting, trying to explain this game.
At the time, I was a one limb thing, and I was using, I think I was purple, which we'll get into the colors later. But so I was using my one limb to just kind of push my head sideways as I moved. She's like, "What is happening?"
It's such a different game that I wasn't expecting. Like, I knew nothing about this coming into it other than I just saw the art, but I wasn't expecting the first thing I would see is you're born. You're popped out and you're born as a little baby pig. And was like, Piggy Mike was born. I'm like, what? What's going on here? It was just the weirdest thing. And I'm just like, okay. And as you were saying, you just have the one limb, then you just hop around, and he looks so stupid on one limb. I hate it.
It's very slug-like. He's kind of like slithers.
Yeah. At least there's a tutorial. I mean, the game teaches you how to play, at least unlike some games I know we've done on the show.
From that year.
Yeah, I was like, I remember when it first came out, I really enjoyed it and had fond memories of it and everything. But going back to it, I felt like I was only getting every other tutorial section because I just had the sense that I was missing something fundamental about the way that it was playing. Everything felt a little off. You know, just from everything from like the way that you attack to like, I just feel like I understand about 75% of the way that you evolve. And that 25% that's missing is really what kept me from enjoying it to its fullest again, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like it was eating 25% of my inputs too, and I was trying to do things like attack, so that all evens out.
Yeah. Okay, so I felt like that too, so I wasn't just meeting. Because there'd be times where I hit a button, he just wouldn't do anything, but just sit there and just sit there.
Yeah. So like basically the crux of it is you're like in these like wide corridors, I guess you could say, and they're kind of textured to look like you're outside. There's a big square sun or moon depending on time of day, and a few animals that are running around that are also cubes. And you kind of the combat on it, you have like free motion, and like in true GameCube fashion, you've got the C stick controls the camera and the 4 cardinal directions basically. So it's not like a free camera, but it's not totally terrible. Like, and they make concessions for like if you're like toward the edge of some kind of geometry, it goes translucent, which is great. Like at that time, a lot of cameras would just like spin around and lose their brains, and you wouldn't be able to tell what was going on. So like that was good. But then like the way that you fight is you lock onto an enemy and then you push a button to pounce. And the pouncing I found to be wildly inconsistent. Like I would either zoom past an enemy or I would hit him for like 1 damage, and then like randomly it just seemed like, or what I interpreted to be random, like sometimes I'd do like 10 damage, and it's like I don't know how much it was like an RPG system or if I was like messing up some timing or something.
Yeah.
I think if you hit him in the back, it did more damage, but I agree with you. Like there'd be times where I would hit him the same way and it would just different numbers would pop up and I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah.
I know there's some kind of crit factor to it, but usually it'll kind of alert you that that's happening. Before we move on from the camera, my main complaints is that the horizontal's inverted and there's no way to change it. And occasionally it just got stuck at a very low angle or a very high angle. It really wanted me to see what's in the distance and not what was right in front of me, or vice versa. So yeah, that's not good.
No, I didn't have a problem with the camera. I was just grateful that I had a camera after playing Third Birthday, that I could move easily.
Yeah, that's fair.
I didn't have it. It didn't bother me. So that was one thing that was nice about it. But yeah, it is strange.
Yeah.
It was a camera that was hard sometimes to like not always focus on what you wanted to.
Yeah, I think I'm also accustomed to having that freedom with the camera where like I'm very particular about where the placement is, and I'm always babysitting it in most like third person games. So it took me a while to get back to that mindset of like, oh yeah, I'm really not in control here, and I'm just a visitor in this place.
It's a very Mario 64 camera.
Hey, it was a 64 game.
Yeah, maybe that's where it stemmed from. They're just like, that's fine, we won't update it.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't bother me a whole lot. I mean, though there were many times when I was holding down R, holding down L to lock on the enemy, holding R to run towards the enemy and have no idea where they are other than my little mini map shows there's a red dot somewhere, and I would go and jump at him, miss him, and then just sit there and be like, oh, and then watch him as he ate me instead.
This is how I feel about space shooters, because I have no spatial awareness whatsoever, so you got to experience that on at least a 2D plane.
Yeah, I think that if this had come out a little bit later, there would have been like maybe some more aggressive lock-on that it would also kind of nudge the camera a little bit. That's the tricky part, though, is like you say, you lock onto an enemy and they're off camera. You have to find out where they are and kind of manage the visual positioning as well as like your character's positioning, which just it is a bit of a struggle.
I think a game that did the game that did this better was Tokyo Jungle. It's basically the exact same mechanics, but it's stuck. The camera is always looking at the side. From the side, you don't actually move it around, so you're basically on this 2.5D plane, and it makes it so much easier to keep track of where you are and where the enemies are.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. That game is great.
That's awesome.
Because that's the same type of game where you eat things and then get bigger.
And mate, and they get better attributes and whatnot. I wonder if there's like some kind of spiritual sequel to this, to some degree.
Okay. I mean, that's the whole point of this game. You're just eating everything, and I didn't understand how it worked exactly, because the more things that you eat, you end up leveling up, which levels up your gut, so then you can have more health essentially. But you also like mutate a whole bunch, and the whole point of the game is you're trying to mutate at least 100 times to get the real ending.
Yeah, which it doesn't tell you until you get to the end.
So I didn't really understand the mutating process at all, other than I would just eat everything I saw just because it was there. I'm like, okay, there's an enemy, I'm eating them. I was thinking RPG.
I really dislike that design where you have to acquire a bunch of stuff, like that's the goal, so that even if you find something that works, you know that you're not being encouraged to stick with that because you have to take these lesser things just to fill up your little scrapbook or whatever. So there'd be some forms that I had that would be like, oh, I'm really fast, I can pounce really far, and like my pounce attack does a ton of damage. This is great. But I know that I can't stay in this form very long because the game wants me to keep going. So now I guess I'm going to be some stupid snake thing with a flap on my head.
And you got to walk backwards. And
exactly.
God, all kinds of bullshit.
Yeah.
Some of those designs were so bad. I just would hate it because I would get certain designs and I just couldn't play well. I would just be terrible at trying to eat things and just not be happy. I only liked the dog ones. Whenever he was shaped like a dog, I was happy. Whether it be 3 limbs, 6 limbs, I wanted to be a dog.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I'm going to ask you, Mike, about a mechanic that I want to make sure you used. When you mate, the form you mate into is one you can revert back to at any time with the D-pad. Oh, Mike.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I saw it say easy mutation, but I never once reverted back to anything.
Yeah, you can swap through them with the D-pad.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, that probably made it a little easier for you.
Yeah, this was the era of instruction manuals.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my copy didn't come with one of those, huh? I'm sure I could have found one, but
yeah.
Obviously I didn't buy this game because I'm not spending $800 on this game. I'd buy it for $8 though.
Yeah,
I'd go back in time. I do like the art style, and I like the fact that the art style was very Minecrafty before we had Minecraft. So everything's cubed. Yeah. I think it would have done better if it came out later after Minecraft, if it wouldn't have been sued.
Oh, then it would have just been a Minecraft knockoff, and no one would have played it.
I still think it might have done better. It might have been more because there were things that were fun about it, like running around as the different animals and transforming was kind of fun. And it, even though there's a story, but the story didn't matter. But the whole fact that every time I'd see the white beast that you have to kill, that then give you like a raw bone or a raw eye or something of that nature, which is what then led to you getting, to evolve so you can mate. I was amused every time for some reason. Whenever you get all excited, he could mate, and then I actually screwed up at one point in this game because after you get the raw meat of the item that you need by beating the boss, you're supposed to go in a little like heart tunnel and mate. Well, one time I didn't do that for some reason. I waited and I went and fought the boss, fought everybody, had the hardest time doing 1 damage. They're doing 30 if they hit me. I'm having to use save states, play really carefully. And then I found out, if I would have just made it, I would have had no problem at all.
Yeah. Mike's like, they took one of my limbs. I'm like, that shouldn't be right. I mean, that does happen, but...
Yeah, I didn't like the fact that they could, like, if they get you, if they knock your health down to 0, you don't die, but they can grab you, bite you, and take away your limbs. I didn't like that.
It kind of prevents you from that game over state right away, at least.
Yeah, then you're bleeding and hopping around with no limbs.
Yeah, we just have to eat something else. Eat one of the herbivores or whatever, herbibeasts that are running around.
All the bug things?
Yeah, the big grass cube ones.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that's what they did. I didn't pay attention. I just played.
The colors and the mutations are, I think, the most fleshed out mechanic in the game. Because, like you said, you kind of get stat boosts for doing certain things, and you find the little training areas dotted around the maps, but they don't really seem to amount to a whole lot. It says your stats are going up, but there's nothing real tangible other than your character looks a little different.
Yes. Yeah. You get like a fang or a little hump on your back or horns.
When I first got the hump, I started laughing too.
Oh, yeah, because the show is going out on the internet. At one point, I hit 69 hump points, so there you go.
All right.
I didn't find out you could poop until way later in this game.
Oh, yeah, it becomes a necessity once you're trying to fill out the Cubipedia or whatever the hell it's called.
I didn't do that. But you could, as you hold different colors for each limb, you can hold a color in one of your limbs, and you're supposed to poop out the color so you can get different colors so you can max out different mutation. And it's just odd.
All of one color to mutate, or the light and the dark variant.
Oh, that's how that worked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can also pick up that cube that gives you like a slot machine.
Oh,
so
boy.
Kind of lets you cycle between the different colors, and good luck.
I did it once when I had 2 limbs, and that was it.
Okay, I didn't understand the point of it. I would do it and just give myself a bunch of random colors and go, okay, and then walk away.
Yep.
I didn't understand what I was playing.
As far as the poo goes, I wish you could select which limb you were dumping out. But it's always the leftmost one on your little bar, which makes it a little difficult to... If you have purple, black, purple, and you need all purples, I would rather get rid of that black than the first purple that I need.
And then the game has like a day and night system where all of a sudden night will happen, everybody goes to sleep, and you just all of a sudden wake back up. And I think enemies would get healed sometimes too by that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think calling it a system is charitable of you.
Okay, you're right. It was very
I was hoping there would be like again, it'd been so long since I played. As soon as that got to be nighttime, I was like, oh, maybe we'll see some different animal types or something interesting will happen. It's like, no, this is just I get to watch them sleep for a second. All right.
And you get a dumb limerick about the boss.
Oh, and the puns. So many puns in this game.
Your character says "ack" a lot in the dialogue.
Yeah, classic Kathy.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
I didn't watch I would just skip everything. I started reading, but I'm like, I don't care about the story in this game.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to completely disengage from it?
Well, it didn't help that I had to restart it at one point. Because I got a glitch in the game where everything was black.
Oh.
So, yeah, the whole screen was just black. I think it was my fault because I was trying to put cheat codes in for infinite health. So then the whole game just went like that for me. So I had to restart it, and then I kind of was less engaged in the story after I had to rewatch all the cutscenes again that are unskippable.
Yeah.
But I was still into the game. It took, I would say, nearest the end when I was the chick, the third form, and I just getting tired of, that's when I was starting to kind of disengage from everything and just kind of just trying to just get done with the game. Especially when I figured out that I only had 50 mutations. I needed 100 to get the real ending. And I'm like, well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that was kind of making me less interested too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like very grindy. I think that the pacing of it is just glacially slow at times, and just everything from like the way that you can sprint, but you really run out of breath fairly quickly. And most of the enemies they do a thing too, which is, I guess, supposed to be supporting the power fantasy that you're becoming stronger, so they'll start running away from you, which is a phenomenal pain in the ass because you spend so much of the time just praying that they'll make a beeline for a corner so you can actually catch up to them. So it feels like you're almost like hurting them as much as you are fighting them.
There was this blue thing, bluocyte, according to the wiki, is the name of the blue species. But I was trying to fight him to complete my blues, and he walked sideways like some kind of spider thing, and he was just making circles around me, and I was trying to get close to him, and he would space out a little more, and just went on entirely too long before I finally just gave the hell up.
Oh, so, yeah.
Right with you there.
And there were like boss fights where it's just like, it's just a battle of attrition, and it's just who can connect first. It's not interesting. There was like one of them that took like 10 minutes just as we're circling around each other. And it's like, I think at that time, the form I was in was like, my face was on the wrong, on its side kind of. So like aiming myself was just, I don't know. It was very frustrating. And it makes it more frustrating because I think the core of the idea is really sound. And I think it does some really interesting things. And I think, as with a lot of games from this era that I still have fond memories about, it just feels like, boy, the sequel to this would have been amazing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I would like to see a sequel. We're not going to, but I would like to.
Yeah.
Because I did have fun. Like, this was a podcast game for me. I got caught up in all my podcasts while playing this game because I would just throw one on, not pay attention to anything, just listen to people talk and just play the game. And I enjoyed it for the most part like that.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, you are right. Some of the boss fights are ridiculous. Especially almost every boss has a bunch of minions with them too. And I would try to use the MMO in me when I used to play MMOs and like pull the enemies. And you don't. This game does not. When you try to pull someone, like, oh, you want to pull? Okay, let's all go get them. I'm like, no, I don't want to get murdered.
Yeah,
I just want to kill one of you.
Yeah, and just managing like multiple targets, being like, okay, I'm trying to work on this one guy. He's got half health. Everyone else is at full health. I think it's more difficult than it needs to be, or even that the designers intended, just through the limitations of the control and the lock on and the way that it works.
You can't choose what you lock on, I think, right? Like, there's no way to move it.
No, you just kind of have to hope that it's trying to see the game the same way you are. The worst is when you're trying to kite someone away and they end up in one of those healing fountains.
Oh, yeah.
It works for them, too. Oh, man.
Yeah.
There was one boss fight where I did that, where I kept trying to bring him over there, and he kept going in. I would go to the Oasis to fight, and then he'd run back to the Oasis. He'd run in there with me. I'm like, no, don't go in there.
It's a real chore to force.
Yeah, I would have to stay away from the Oasis, even though I'm dying, and try to like get them to forget about me. Which they can go for a while before they forget about you too.
They're
I mean, and another like big thing about this game is you have 3 different forms that you take. First, you start out as a pig, and then as the game progresses, you go into it. You become a bear, and then you become a chick for some reason.
Natural progression of things.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking pig, bear, something bigger than a bear. But I mean, maybe bear be the final, and chick be the first, pig be the middle. But whatever.
Or at least like an eagle or something.
Yeah,
it's chick, baby chicken.
It's so weird. And then. So did anyone else get DBZ vibes in this game after you finished each form, you have a little scene where he mates with the Ultra mate, and then he's eaten.
Yeah. Oh, damn. What do they call it?
I wasn't paying attention.
Shoot. I can't remember. It's a pun. It's some kind of pun. No. I'll look it up. Keep talking.
But when you die and then all of a sudden you're in heaven, you have a little halo above your head and you're running around. All I could think of was Dragon Ball Z when Goku dies for the first time. That's all that came in my head.
Consummate. Yeah. Sorry, I just remembered it.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it was interesting to see that. That's where I had the first glitch where I couldn't see anything, so I couldn't see the rainbow bridges to get across the level. So I couldn't really play.
It was just your halo and like a black void.
I thought that's what the game was supposed to be. I'm like, okay, well, I died, so maybe that's what it's supposed to be. And I sent a picture to Mike. He's like, no, that's a glitch. I'm like,
it's like, is this a glitch? I'm like, yeah, that's a glitch.
I almost quit the game right there. I didn't want to keep going. I didn't want to restart. I'm like, I already played for 2 hours. I want to be done.
Yeah, but then you knew what you were doing at least.
It went by a lot faster, yeah. Once I understood this weird game, even though I'd get upset whenever I mutate into something I didn't want to be. Every time I get upset.
Not knowing you could change it.
I mean, there were some cool forms, and as the game progresses, you fight bigger monsters? let's say that that have more limbs, and you can like get some pretty interesting forms. And once you get to like 4 or 5 limbs, most forms you get are at least somewhat useful.
Yeah, there are exceptions. There are like certain red ones or purple ones that jump sideways, and jumping's your main method of dodging attacks. So it can throw you out of sync of your attack patterns.
Well, you can block.
Yeah, I never really did that.
You hold down B and he shoves his face in the ground like an ostrich.
Mm-hmm. My favorite one is one of the one limb ones where the little flap is just supporting you, and I would hold B and he would just face plant into the ground. Good stuff.
It works though. Like if they hit you, if you block and they hit you, they get stunned for like literally a second. You can, and sometimes I could get it to work where I could still hit them, but sometimes they would recover by the time I could move and hit them. Like I was like, come on now.
Yeah, I didn't really utilize the block.
It's not this game. It's not very good for that. It's not balanced well. You can believe that this game wasn't balanced, but
in 2002, nah.
I mean, and the amount of damage like we were talking about earlier, but the amount of damage you do sometimes is very interesting too. Like you'll have sometimes where, like we were saying, it doesn't really make sense, and I never really understood that. Like sometimes they would do 30 damage to me, sometimes they would almost kill me. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. It's very strange. At least the maps are. I thought the maps were interesting as the game progresses, like the different maps that you go to, even though they're all kind of like fields. But I still thought they were kind of cool.
We gotta eat the little wild bugs to restore the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the ground.
I did like that. And then you collect little hearts because you have to get so many hearts, so that way your mates will produce more offspring.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like once you mate, your consciousness is like transferred over to a new little guy, and it's very, very small, and you're right, like you spawn right next to the corpse of your previous form. It's fairly grim, but it is what it is, I guess.
The mother is nowhere to be seen.
Yep, exactly.
In this world, when the male dies, period, there is no surviving.
Yeah, it's a straight up spider experience.
Yeah.
It was amusing though, like when you first, like the first time when you were little, and I was really confused. I'm running away and I'm so tiny. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And all of a sudden, he just got bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I was really confused, and then it took a few births before I realized, oh, that's the old body of the dead male just there with no limbs. He's just been murdered.
Exactly.
Very strange life cycle. Yeah, it's a strange life cycle of a Cubivore.
Yeah. I mean, it was amusing when you bite people and because you grab them by the limb and then you like throw their body after you. I was amused every time when I'd grab an enemy, and it took me a bit to figure out how to like use the joystick, because you have to like shake the joystick or pull back to get him to throw the body.
Yeah, there's those times too when you're able to like pounce on someone and kill them in the same motion, and then there's this purple arterial spray of blood like a samurai movie, and it says that's called an eat and run or something like that. Yeah. And it's like no additional commentary. It's just like that's what they call it. Okay, cool. But what what does that do for me other than watch the insides of the thing bleed out? I don't know.
It just made it go faster, I guess.
Yeah.
It happens
was also
very
used
sporadically.
When you get the second form, which is a bear, the first thing you kill are piggies, which is what you were originally. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how I feel. This is kind of like, okay, hey, I was one of these. Let's kill them all. Like, all right.
It's food chain for you.
Yeah. I really hated the one limb creatures though so much until it wasn't fun to me until you got a few limbs.
Yep, definitely.
You just move so weird. I mean, it definitely is a bizarre game. It just is. But it's not, I don't think it's a bad game. I think it was, it was a good game, like to throw on just and put something else on that you're not paying, that you rather listen to and then play.
Yeah, the music's fine. It's very public domain, kind of late, jazzy. The sound effects are all stock sound effects for sure, but nothing offensive in there. So you're not missing out.
Yeah.
And you do fight a lot of bosses in this game too, which I was surprised.
Boy, do you. Because you fight them all at the same time at the end.
Yeah, and I didn't see that level for some reason.
I did.
So I had actually I was emulating this game, and for some reason with this game is you have to use the exact same save that you started with. So when I would turn off my emulator and turn back on my emulator, for some reason it wouldn't recognize the memory card again, so then I had to only use save states, which led to issues with this game. Because in the very end of the game, if you don't have 100 mutations, the game will kick you back to being reborn as a chick to try to have you help you get the rest of the mutation that you need, and you get the bad ending. Well, it just says game over and the game just ends.
Mm-hmm.
But because I couldn't reload my save, I'm like, well, I'm not going to go back to being a pig or a bear. I'm like, I'm just done. So I just YouTube the rest of it. But it never explains to you once that you need to get so many mutations. It doesn't say a single word about it until you get this. It doesn't even tell you need 100. It just tells you that, hey, I killed Hitman Cubivore, or Hitman, whatever the hell he was called. But he wasn't the best. He was the second best.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and I was not.
Where it's really unlikely you're going to get 100 the first time through anyway, because it doesn't introduce the darker colors until later in the game. So it's more difficult to get the darker colors on the less limbed Cubivores. So when you do the New Game Plus kind of thing, it starts filtering in those colors earlier on in the game.
Oh.
So you can get like some of the clash colors as a pig, one limb, and whatnot. So it kind of helps speed it up, but it still took me like a full 2 playthroughs. I was like a 3 or 4 limbed chick before I hit 100, and then it kind of just shoves you into the final area.
So is it worth it?
No.
So walk us through it.
Yeah, you get the 100 mutations, and it's like, okay, let's go fight the king of all Cubivores, and it throws you into a fight against probably like 10 or 12 of the bosses throughout the game all at once, which is not great. You pretty much have to just run around until you get one of them separated and then kill it. But that fight wasn't as bad as the next one. You fight I can't remember what they're called, but they're like 4 Cubivores that are all solid clash colors, or the rage colors, and they all gang up on you at once. And they do obscene amounts of damage, have obscene amounts of health. And then you fight the king of all Cubivores, or whatever the hell his name is, Killer Cubivore. And he's got 6 limbs, of course, and 700 health? Like 699, I think, when I fought him. No. Every time you kill him, his health bar refills, and you have to take out his limbs one by one. And, yeah, it's not great. It's, oh boy.
But then what happens?
It gives you a really crappy ending of, hey, I did it.
Oh.
So the world is mine. Yay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's up there with the rest of the dialogue in the game. Yeah, you're not missing out.
No, I wanted to do it, but when the game wanted me to, I was willing to keep going, but when the game wanted to reload my save, and I'm like, oh, I can't reload my save. Well, I was done. I was not coming back to that. I had fun, but there was no way in hell I was gonna try to like reload. I mean, I don't think I could have reloaded and even tried to get there, because there just wouldn't have been enough time.
Yeah.
Which I don't like that a game does that to me, where if I don't go and get, like, if I'm not planning to do it, I won't make it. And there's no, like, there should be hints. I should have been told something like, hey, you might want to get more mutation. Hey, you, like, give me like a little checkpoint, like, oh, you can't open this door because you don't have 75 mutations. Go get them, like a Banjo-Kazooie thing or something.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of old beat 'em ups, or if you play on an easier difficulty, it kind of kicks you out after a few stages. Be like, hey, try a harder difficulty if you want to see the real ending. Come on.
That was my most irritating thing about this game, was those parts. Other than that, it's amusing, and it's definitely original. At the time, this is definitely one of the most original games I think we played on the show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And all the names of all the worlds are kind of, to me, they were funny, like White Still, Highland, Lake Giddum, Ultimarsh, Paul Pasture. I don't know. I found them amusing.
They are definitely the products of a bunch of programmers sitting in a room like, oh, we need to name all these areas. What do we do?
Yeah, localization team was MVPs.
And then one place is called Killing Plains, where you get into an area where you just go and, like, I think there's a couple areas you have like 10 minutes just to go and kill everything you want to.
Yep. Good way to stock up on some forums.
I was just killing everything, because I was trying to play like an RPG. Like, my idea was, if I kill more enemies, I wasn't so much thinking about mutations. I was thinking about, getting my gut level stronger, just because that's how my brain was working and seeing this game, even though that's not what the game meant for me to be doing. It meant for me to be collecting colors and matching colors and mutating and keeping track of mutation, which I was not doing.
You got the little bestiary that you can see what you have.
Yeah, I looked at it, but that was it. And apparently you can roar in this game?
Yeah, I think it's Y, where it also centers the camera, which I use quite a bit because the camera is poopy, but it just kind of startles them, and they jump back, and that's it.
I never did it. I didn't even know it was even in there. And I think it maybe made me do it once, but then I forgot about it or something.
Do you like that each of the forms for each color have basically themed names for each limb? Like the only one I can find right off the bat is the yellow pails are all tools, basically. Like the 1 limb is a tire jack, 2 limb is a pedal, 3 limb is cranky, 4 limb is dolly, 5 limb is forklift, and 6 limb is bulldozer. Can't remember any other ones. I think there's... Damn, I can't remember. One of the gray ones, they all have the same word in them.
I'm not surprised. And like the whole point of this game is you beat different bosses. You get like what's called raw meat. I think you get like a bone, like a bone on you, like an eyeball on you, a pig nose for some reason. Like it's very odd.
Yeah, I think it's the claw that lets you run and lock on at the same time.
Oh yeah,
a godsend.
And then each time you get born, you don't have any of that stuff, so you have to wait until you eat enough, bosses to get it all back. Yeah, that. And the only other thing we had, like, there's also training things you have in this game where you do like little, like you just hit a button and attack things, and you train up different skills. Like you have a tongue, you train your tongue, you train your hump points, your horn. Which doesn't really do a whole lot, I feel like.
I like the rumble bowl that you just kind of rotate the stick and spin around in it.
That was funny.
Or the treadmill where you just walk in a line.
The worst one is the one that you have to like pull on the piece of wood and let go at a certain time.
Yeah.
Oh, screw that thing.
I like how he gets a scar. He's like, "Hey, I'm more attractive now." It was a very amusing game, though.
So the types of cubivores, according to this wiki page, are the yellow braids, the redipeds, bluocytes, perpials, and the craodons. If anyone was really, really interested in that. And they all have different stats, apparently. The yellows are strong and they block well. The reds can jump high. That's really all they can do. The blues can pounce from a long range, but they're kind of glass cannons. The purples all walk in reverse and sometimes even attack in reverse, which is super useful, let me tell you. And the gray ones sprint faster.
Yep. So Jeff, how far did you get in this game before you had enough?
I honestly, I think I got like about midway when I presume through Bear, and then I watched some videos just to get acquainted with the life of Chick. But yeah, back in the day, I did beat it. I don't remember if I got 100 or not. But
when Mike he had finished Pig and he was contemplating stopping. He's like, "Well, does the combat change at all?" I'm like, "No, you've pretty much experienced the game at this point. Like you get more limbs and it's different forms, but it's pretty much the same the whole way through." Like they had this one cool idea about the colors and evolution, and they're like, "Let's make a game around that. What else do we do? I don't know."
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Apparently, there's also an area if you get all 150 mutations.
I don't know.
Where you can just eat things, and all the beasts are mostly non-aggressive. Called Shangri-La. Which I will never see because I will never play this game again. Anything else I think we're running out of stuff to say about this game. I was like,
yeah, it's so simple, honestly. I would suggest that anyone who's interested should spend $800 on it so they can play it.
This is one of those games where I feel no remorse when I play it other ways, just because it's like Nintendo is never going to re-release this game ever.
Yeah.
I mean, they should. I think if you re-release this game now, you charge $5 for it. Just throw it on the eShop. Some people would buy it. Even $10, people would buy it.
5, you mean 60, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's not even. It'd be worth about 10 to 15. I think it'd be a good price for this game on the eShop, and I think people would probably like it and play it because it's so different and it is amusing.
Yeah,
it would. I mean, it wasn't good, but it's not terrible. I played worse.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the benchmark is you've played worse than absolutely it's good.
Kind of where we are in the show.
I mean, I had more fun playing this than I did Blood Omen 2.
And Third Birthday.
No, I had more fun with Third Birthday.
Yeah, well, that doesn't make it right.
I enjoyed most of Third Birthday until I got near the end of the game. All right, if there's nothing else we have to say about Cubivore, we can go to questions, comments, or memories.
Do you have some?
Actually, yes.
Wow.
I was a little surprised too, but mainly from the Nintendo GameCube enthusiasts. They were the only people that I thought might even have anything to say about this game that actually know it existed. So, first one from Corey Wayne. I'm alive, I must eat.
Yeah.
which is this game.
I think it's directly quote from the
is.
game.
I mean, that's all you do is eat. From Joseph Filla. Weird thing is, I remember this was supposed to be for the N64, perhaps the DD drive. This was reworked for the GameCube, but no one wanted to publish this game for North America outside of Japan, but Atlas picked it up as publisher.
Yeah, they published a lot of weird crap back in the day.
I really like Atlas, though. I think they're a great publisher. I mean, they were games that I would go out of my way to go and find for PS2 and things, because they would have some really, I thought, interesting titles.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely agree.
Are you a fan of Atlas, Jeff?
I don't know. I guess I don't really give them that much thought. I don't play a ton of RPGs anymore, so yeah.
Yeah, that is there.
The people that are there are very nice.
I love RPGs, so that's what always draw me that name when I see that name on a box, especially because those boxes would end up going away usually. So I would buy them.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
I still have done that a lot when I see Atlas. I'll buy it just because if it's like $10 as Atlas, I'll just buy it. All right, from John Sakura. When I was working at GameStop, we'd often get historic releases like this one if someone pre-ordered. So the other employees and myself would pre-order to make sure we'd get them in stock day of release. We ended up getting 4 total. All of us snagged it and falling in love with the weird and delightful translation. The game itself was fun, but the driving force was definitely the writing and Atlas localization team was definitely in full swing during the era. Great, ridiculous stuff. All right, and from Dan Solderman, waiting for the successor of Cubivore for 20 years already. Okay. Oh. And from Chandler Lawrence, yes, Atlas. I much rather would have had this on GameCube than Shin Megami Tensei or Persona. I never really played a lot of those Shin Megami games ever.
Yeah.
One day I plan to do that.
Persona 4 is the only one I've actually beaten.
And I got 2 comments from I watched the entire Overblood Super Replay. First one I want to read from Jack Myers. I always wanted to try this. Okay. You should. You should try it. You shouldn't buy it for $800. You should try it. And from Jerica Brannigan, how much did you pay for that? Or is it something you had lying around you picked up when it first came out? Because if I remember right, this game is up there with things like Rule of Rose and Odama as ludicrously expensive niche titles.
I forgot about Odama.
Odama is ludicrously expensive now?
I guess I'm going to look that up right now. I know Rule of Rose is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's... Rule of Rose is a few $100 for sure.
No, Odama says $25 the first thing that came up.
It's around the 80 mark.
Oh, maybe this one is not... I don't know why someone's selling it for $25 then. Huh. Yeah, there's no one selling it for 80 or 70, so I don't... I wonder if it's some kind of like... It's not really the game, but we'll sell you the case.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there goes that. I was going to retire on that, but oh well.
You could sell your Cubivore.
Mm-hmm. No, thanks.
Okay, so yeah, it does have... Yeah, Odama's not that expensive, not like this game is.
No.
Rule Rose, just to answer that other question. Okay, that's like an $800 game.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
That's one thing I don't like about, like, games should be, in my opinion, should always be re-released when, especially stuff like this. Like, if you can, throw it off and throw it on some digital platforms so people can experience without trying to charge people. Like, example, I just looked up Haunting Ground. That's going for over $800. Somebody's trying to sell it brand new for over $2,000.
Wow.
Just re-release games for people sometimes, if you can. I mean, if it's not a rights issue, like, find a way. If it's, affordable, release it. Get it out there. So you don't have idiots on eBay trying to sell your game for $4,000 in a cube.
Did Earthbound go down? I see a lot of like $20 marks on here. Either they're reproduction cartridges or something happened.
They're probably reproduction cards.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here's a complete inbox for $14,999. That's more like it.
All right. Well, that wraps up all the questions I have. I think we should go to Shelf Stacker Box then.
Yeah.
And Mike, since this is your pick, why don't you go first?
Man, that's actually a tough call because I did have fun playing it there until those last couple of fights that are bad difficulty spikes. Not great. But it really just feels like they had this one idea for this one mechanic and then built a game around it, and everything else just kind of suffered because of it. But it's still fun, and I'm sure I'll play it again someday, just not anytime soon. So I'll go ahead and put it in the stack.
Okay. And since I don't remember if we had you on, Jeff, and we had Stack, I can't remember. Stack is kind of like the middle ground of something that you don't want to throw it in the boxes. You like it more than that, but you don't really want to put it on a shelf because it's not something that you want to advertise.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you, Jeff?
Well, it's too valuable to do anything other than put it in the box. I mean, then lock it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as playing it, I think I'm good for now.
The real question is, was this more fun to revisit than Gotcha Force was?
Oh, that's a great question. No.
Yeah, I'll give you that. They're both
Gotcha
very
Force.
unique games.
Yeah.
It's a better game, though. Gotcha Force is actually a lot of fun.
At least it had the decency to give you difficulty spikes partway into the game and didn't save it for the end.
Right.
Oh, my end of my Cubivore was just game over because I didn't have 100 mutations and I couldn't reload my save. The game said game over and just went away. And I'm like, well, I guess I beat it. Okay, we're done. All right, so I'll go last. I'm going to put this in the box. I'm glad I tried it. I'm glad that we'll be one of the few podcasts that actually covered this game. And I will never play it again in my life. Ever. Never need to. It's go in the box. It's done. I'm good. It's bizarre. It's strange. It's weird. It's kind of not. It has its fun moments, but nothing I need to ever see again in my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the box. All right, and that wraps up that section. Jeff, did you have anything that you wanted to plug?
Yeah, you should play Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus if you haven't already. I've gotten back into that, and that game's phenomenal.
I've never played it.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, it's like the only roguelike, well, that and maybe Enter the Gungeon, the only two roguelikes that I really connect with. So if you slept on it, play Binding of Isaac. It's so good.
Oh, my wife has probably hundreds of hours into that series, so
Yes.
she'll be happy to hear that.
It's always caught my attention, but I stay away from roguelites because I suck at them. So
You just gotta keep playing until you finally get the groove.
Yeah,
Like 20 XDX, I'll make you play that someday for the show.
that's a good game. I was playing that a bunch, but then I just couldn't. I don't know. I would be okay, and I get near the end, and I'd be like, okay, now it's getting too hard for me.
It's for those who don't know, it's basically Mega Man X. It's a roguelike. It's a lot of fun.
This is a good game, though. I don't know. I've always wanted to get into roguelikes, but it's never happened yet. It's always on that. It's just one of those things that I just have never been able to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day. We'll see. All right. And then and I also want to thank Jeff for coming on this again and coming on for another weird ass GameCube title.
Absolutely. Anytime we want to talk about GameCube, I'm game.
I think there's other strange GameCube games, aren't there still?
Oh,
Of course.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
It's the
you're right.
GameCube, baby.
It is a good system. I do really like the GameCube a lot. So hey, because thanks to the show, I've actually played some games I never played before. Like I finally played Pikmin,
There you go.
Yeah.
which is not weird, but really good.
GameCube had a lot of oddities.
Killer 7,
Oh yeah,
Darkened Sky, the Skittles game,
the Skittles game.
Chibi Robo, which I have not covered
Robo.
on the show yet.
Yep.
One day. Ribbit King, which I just found recently.
Oh yeah, with Frolf.
I didn't know that existed. I was looking up weird stuff, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
They had a lot of card-based RPGs like Lost Kingdoms and Batten Kaidos.
Bait and Kite, whatever the hell you pronounce that. That's that I've always wanted to play. I actually own that next to me. That's a rare game now, I think.
Yeah, I think all of GameCube's are rare at this point.
Back in the day when I used to go to my GameStop, and you would have like, in games that you would have on all three systems, the GameCube version would be always the most expensive, and
Yeah.
PS2 would always be the cheapest.
Yep.
So I used to buy the PS2 version instead. I wouldn't buy multi-platform games on GameCube just at that point once I had all three. All right, I think that's enough of me just trying to say things. So first, as we did mention earlier, we do have the Patreon. We still have the poll going. I'm going to run the poll until July 4th, and I'm going to cut it, and then we will decide the first pilot test episode based on the votes. So you have time to get your votes in. The time you're hearing this, you still have about 2 weeks to do it, so please go do it.
4 options are the first episodes of the X-Men animated series, Batman animated series, Spider-Man animated series, and the first Justice League cartoon.
Yes, so definitely go sign up for that. Only throw us $1. That's all we're asking. And if you enjoyed this weird-ass episode, we have tons of other episodes that we cover. Most are not as weird as this. This is one of our Stranger Games and shorter episodes. So definitely go check out. And if you want to hear Mr. Cork again, he's on episode 50, episode 60, and whatever Gotcha Force was, which I did not look up before I started talking.
100 and something, probably.
Yes, it was 100 something. So go find that.
107.
Perfect.
Also qualifies as a weird game.
There you go.
And we
Yeah,
got
but it's
another weird one coming up.
It's a good weird game, though. It's actually really fun to play.
Go ahead and spoil it now. The next really odd game we have coming up is Graffiti Kingdom on PS2. And Mike has no experience with it, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I have no idea what's coming up with that.
Yeah, good luck.
I think you might like it better than this one.
I won't be eating things, and I won't be getting all excited because I can mate. So that'll be a plus right there.
There you go.
I mean, any game is like that if you play it right.
Usually they don't have dialogue on the screen. It goes, I can mate, all excited, like usually. Not the games I play usually.
I was gonna say that's all in the games you play, I'm sure.
Yes, that's why I had to go. But all right, and then other thing I want to say is I should mention what we're talking about next week. We are going to be talking about Resident Evil 4 finally. After all this time, finally going to be covering that classic game.
been on the list twice, I think.
Twice, yeah. It was on the list, and it got taken off because I was trying to get a particular person that didn't work out. So then I had to take it off. And then I put it back on because I'm just going to play it now.
Yeah, there you go.
So we are talking about that next week. Also, I want to give a plug out to Bill Tucker's show, which is currently live. Go check out A Gamer Looks at 40. So you can find, if I remember right, you will see a link in the show notes. Otherwise, just search Google Gamer Looks at 40. He's on all your podcast platforms. Definitely go check him out. He's starting he started his show. He's got like 6 or 7 episodes out so far, and I know I'm on it and one of the more recent one of the ones coming up. So
yeah, I know I'm in the Mario episode that went up 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. And also want to give a shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Bobby, a.k.a. Mike Stoney from ZP Bite the Bullet. Song is the Cool Kid Squad, so you will see a link in the show notes to his YouTube channel. And again, I want to thank you guys for all listening. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. You will see a link to most social medias in the show notes. Definitely check that out. And again, I want to thank Jeff for coming on the show again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And we will see you guys all next time for less weird games. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Bye.